Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and this afternoon I am delighted to be joined by Sean Connolly, Sean Connolly, Jared Hill, and Kevin McCluskey. We're here on Trophy Day. We're watching the action, wishing we were actually there, watching the action of the players getting the standing ovation from the crowd, as you would expect. I'm just going to start with Joe Hart. Jared, I'll come to yourself. Joe Hart. He deserves a section of this show, I think, because of what he's done over the last 3 years. I said before the game, we're an emotional club. We really are. We're sentimental. We really are as a fan base. And Joe Hart, I don't know what I was more happy with, seeing Joe Hart coming off and getting a standing ovation, or seeing Scott Bain getting a game.
Yeah, it's funny. Joe Hart, he came in, as we said, pre-game, and there was doubts about him. Like, for me, I wasn't sure if he was the right type of keeper for Ange, but over his 3 years at the club, he's become that cult hero. He gets the club, he understands it, and he's going to long be remembered as a goalkeeper at Celtic. And seeing him get that moment where the whole crowd is just, giving him the standing ovation, everyone on the bench is giving him 5, dapping him up, giving him hugs or whatever. And then there's that one bloke sitting behind the thing, not moving, arms crossed like this. I was pissing myself laughing at his reaction. I went, look at him. Everyone else is up and about, and this bloke's just sitting still. It was just great. I found that amusing, but it was great to see Hart get his flowers, basically, in that situation.
No, you're right. And we did speak, Sean, you weren't in the pre-match. We were talking about how there was a lot of people probably not too keen on him, as not in terms of his ability and what he'd achieved in the game, but just this persona. But in the last 3 years, we've got to know him. And, could you even use the word humility? I think in his interviews you've seen a bit of that. That's maybe come with age. He's come to Celtic, for the last hurrah of his career. And I think we'll always look back fondly on his 3 years here.
Yeah, he's definitely got a leadership, a class, and a sense of perspective that, comes with having the kind of career that he's had. I still remember him getting slaughtered when he was playing in goals for England back in whatever Euros or World Cup it was. And the English media are not the most forgiving of the goalkeepers down there. So I think he took a bit of mental damage from that. He was still getting slaughtered by Torino. So I think he's genuinely just enjoyed being embraced here and not being under the same level of scrutiny that the English media give to the goalkeepers down there. And I think it's something that's worked out for both sides. But it's a bit of a sour note for him to end getting subbed off during a game. When your goalkeeper's getting subbed off, he's obviously had a stinker. So it's a shame for him, really.
Remember that time Rodgers subbed off Doris de Vries? And was it in the first half or at half time, Kev? Remember he got a world goal. Half time.
I think it was half time.
Craig Gordon came on. Who was the name of the Kelly player that scored that goal from like 40 yards? Remember he got a big money move. Let us know in the comments. But yeah, you're right. Goalies getting subbed off during the game normally means you've had an absolute shocker Rooney. But not today. It was all about Joe. And as Jared said, it was all about Joe getting his flowers, wasn't it?
Yes, sorry, that was directed at me. Yes, it was. I was still trying to think who that Kilmarnock player was. Because I remember it was like £1 million movie he got afterwards to Saudi Arabia or something like that. I can't remember where he went, but I remember that. But yeah, Joe's deserved this, right? We spoke about this before the game, you and Jared, about
Koulibaly, something like that.
Koulibaly, I think that was it. Yes.
Aye.
Well done.
Koulibaly.
That's the boy. Yes.
Yes. Right. Perfect. Now I can answer your actual question. So, as I was saying, the three of us spoke about Joe and the impact he's had in the 3 years before the game. And yeah, he absolutely deserves a moment like this. I'm not one on doing the over sentimental gestures during the game of football. I hated when when John Terry had his substitution on his last game after 26 minutes or whatever it was, because it was a number in his back of the jersey and they stopped to give him the hero's applause when he went off the park. I didn't like that. I don't like those things. That's the one, the Guard of Honour. Thank you, Sean. I don't like all that kind of stuff. But there's something fitting about it when you do it in the last minute of a game, in the last game of the season. you are just honouring and respecting the player for what they did. We did it to Beaton and Rogic a couple of years ago. They got their moment in the limelight there. You can see the emotion that it meant for them, and Joe got it again today as well. It's great for us as the fans, the 60,000 at the stadium, get to applaud and cheer and sing his name for a bit. And then it's great for the player because he gets to fully understand just how much he's meant to us over the last 2 years, how much we've brought him to our heart, pardon the pun, and it gives him a chance to applaud back. So he absolutely deserves it. And you can see kind of genuine warmth amongst all the team on the pitch and off the pitch and the coaching staff towards him. I think he will be a big miss for us next season, but I do still stand by the comment before that I think it's probably the right time for him to step aside now. And he'll go out, hopefully, as like I said before, as a double winner when we win that cup again next week.
Yeah, the medals, the cinch medals are glistening in the sunshine. We've got one eye on the action, of course. It's always amazing to see the fans' reaction, the players lapping it up. And on the park at the moment, Jared, is Neil Lennon doing his punditry. And I found it really interesting. We're talking about sentimentality that Brendan Rodgers got Lenny to take some of the acclaim on Wednesday night at Rugby Park. I think it was raw. It was tough, during that season where we didn't win the league and the consecutive league championships came to an end. And there was a lot of bad mood and bad feeling around about that time. With time, though, during the Ange years and now with Brendan coming back, what do you think the feeling is, Jared, in relation to Lenny? Because, I mean, here's a man, as a player, a captain, a manager, he won 21 trophies at Celtic. Tremendous, accumulatively as a player and a manager. Do you think everything's kind of softened the mood?
I think with the longer it goes on, the more it softens. For me, I look at it, if you're talking about the 10 in a row thing, on the cold hard facts of it, his first season we could have won it, his last season we could have won it, but at the end of the day, it wasn't to be. We're now 3 in a row, so 7 more, is it?
Well, see, this is the thing, right? 3 in a
went
row.
early there.
Well, the 3 in a row thing, I think just the other day there it was pointed out we haven't done that often in our history. So it's a giant step towards, if you're looking at the 9 and the 10, Sean. Is that, as Celtic fans, what we always do? You're basically ticking them off because you do want to create that new history and that new record.
I'm not personally. I think that's way ahead. I think these teams tend to come in 3-year cycles, and so by that logic, this team's going to come into the end of a 3-year cycle. So really, if we do get a big refresh this summer, then we might kick off another cycle. But no, to be honest, I'm not projecting that out. I'm not thinking about that at this moment in time. I'm just thinking about getting a double here next week and enjoying this one today. And I'm really hoping I see Santa. I don't know if that message got through to Celtic, but I'd love to see Santa out there. I see that they've got all the cinch medals out. Those aren't the real medals. So the Japanese translator will get one. The real medals come out like 2 weeks later. And I think if my maths is correct, Welsh and Nawrocki will get one for making their 10th appearance each today.
Right. Well, you're talking about cycles and people getting medals. Will the kit man get a medal, Kev? Remember he was giving the team talk against Aberdeen. Will he get one?
He better. He deserves it. He's there every week. So why not?
Brendan gave him it tight, didn't he? For giving the team talk. Who was it he was talking to? Bernardo. It was Bernardo, wasn't it? Aye, he gave him it tight. We're talking about cycles though, Kev, and I do agree with Sean. It seems to be a 3-season cycle with Celtic because the star players attract this attention, and we've seen it so often in the past. I even listed a team of guys, from Forster right through to Jota, who had got the big money moves. And as a Celtic fan, I'd love to see, every so often a group of those guys being kept together. But I know where we are. I know where the players' heads at as well. Eventually, do you get that sense that it's coming to the end of the cycle and we're now looking towards the pre-season and something of a rebuild?
A little bit, yeah. I think we used to go on 3 to 5 year cycle in terms of keeping players and keeping the core of a team together. and now it's more 18 months to 3 years. It's been that cycle, and for some of those players, we are getting towards the end of it. Hart will leave, possibly Matt O'Reilly will go as well. So there's two key players. We lost some last season as well that we didn't fully replace. So this summer's a big one. We need to get the transfers in right, and we probably need to move on a few more players as well, get rid of some of the dead wood that's in there. So yeah, I think the way football goes and the way it goes for us, that's what we look towards now. That 18 months to 3 years has been the natural cycle of the core of a team. But we're constantly bringing players in to replace them. So I'm going to use today to get on Jared's bus with this one and go 10 in a row. It's back on again. I'm going to say it because we've got some. We're not losing everyone in this cycle. We're going to keep the likes of Hatate, Kyogo, McGregor, Carter Vickers. You would like to hope there's still a spine of a really good team there. We've got the guts of £100 million sitting in the bank at the moment. If we can invest that correctly, if we can get best in class to our level in the right positions off the pitch as well, there's no reason why we can't go on another lengthy run of dominating Scottish football or continuing a run of dominating Scottish football. And we should be looking to go and win titles season after season. We've got the biggest resources in the country. We should have the best players and the best staff in the country. I don't think it's unrealistic to say that we should have another shot at going for that 10. Whether we get there or even get close to it, who knows? Because we don't know what's going to happen across the city or with our own team. But why not? Why not dream big again?
Big thing for me, talking about domination, and just the other day there, I was talking about the season that Martin O'Neill came in, 2000, 2001. You can throw an extra trophy in from the previous season, of course, if you're just counting it from 2000. But Celtic have dominated Scottish football for the last 24 years. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And some of the honours that we've had within that period, 9 in a row, quadruple treble, just as Joe Hart is paraded in front of the Celtic fans here. Absolutely brilliant. We are living in a period where that's almost quarter of a century of domination, Jared. It's not just about dominating Scottish football for the next thing. We're in a situation at the moment where we could go into the realms of Rangers just being a cup team every now and again getting a trophy. Because that's what it feels like now. They've won 6 leagues in 2 different guises over the last 24 years. If you're a football fan and that's what you're being presented with, it's not as though you are up there as being the 2 most successful clubs in the league. Celtic are the most successful club in the league. But we don't have a secondary option. We have dominated this game for 24 years. And I just think that, if you were to dominate it for another 24, I don't know what the landscape of Scottish football would look like, to be honest with you, because I don't know if it's good, bad or indifferent for the game if there is no challenger for that period of time. But I don't think it's just a new phenomenon. Celtic have dominated this game for the best part of a quarter of a century, Jared.
It's fantastic considering I'm one of those people who grew up their formative years supporting Celtic in the 90s, watching us win bugger all, and then so to come through and just be dominating the last 24 years, as I said before, is this the start to the 10? Well, you take it a game at a time, a week at a time, and your season at a time, and let's build towards it. Because unless someone's going to step up, they're just going to keep getting stepped on. That's the easiest way to look at it in terms of with us, a club our size, with our finances, our support and everything. We just have to keep going and keep building, and every season, incremental games, improve, and off we go. And yeah, the domination of the last 24 years, amazing. Love it, considering grew up watching it in the 90s where it was not the most fun, but still, here we are.
You're right. It was fun in different ways, Jared. You made your own fun. I remember going to the games and basically, the self-deprecating humour amongst the Celtic fans was unmatched back then. It was unrivaled. I'm keeping an eye on the celebrations, and like everybody else, I wish I was there. Callum McGregor's got the mic at the moment. Captain Callum McGregor, Sean, and I'm going to go back to that period of time, during the end of the season where we had gone for a manager that we didn't get. Then we brought in Ange Postecoglou, and there was a lot of talk at that stage because Scott Brown obviously was leaving the club, it was like, who's going to take over the captain's armband? We had such an influential captain. And to be honest with you, I think if I go back there, I can't revise history. I wasn't 100% sold on Callum being a captain, but that's because I don't know what he's like in the dressing room and on the training pitch. Anybody that's worked with him said it was absolutely a given that Callum McGregor would be the captain. And what a captain he has become, Sean. He's been unbelievable in terms of our leader, isn't he?
Yeah, there's been a few down the years that it wasn't as obvious to the fans, like the likes of Paul Lambert and Stephen McManus, and they seem, the kind of quieter seeming guys, and Callum McGregor almost came under that category. But then there's also, since then, he seems to have actually kind of raised his profile. There's the stuff, particularly in the Derby games, like I won't say the word, but when he chased down Borna Barisic and gave him a little chide. It's a word that rhymes as white bag, for anyone that's trying to remember what I'm saying. But yeah, that sort of thing, he's actually, he's really stood up and taken over. And I don't know if that's just because he's learned from the person before, but he's really stood out. And then if you guys are right about your prediction, then he'll be 37, about to turn 38 if he is still here for 10 in a row. If that is, again, not my bandwagon, but if you guys are going for it, that's it.
I'm on that bandwagon. I am on that bandwagon, by the way. I'm playing the banjo in that band. Callum McGregor, for me, I think when you look at the way that his career has gone, for many reasons, Kevin, it's not been the generic Celtic career. He didn't break into the team like, guys like Kieran Tierney or Tony Ralston or James A. Forrest in his teenage years, 17, 18-year-old coming into the side. He didn't do that. He had to go away and kind of prove himself elsewhere and get that experience elsewhere. At Notts County, famously comes back. It's Ronnie Dyler who gives him his debut. And look at him now. I mean, Brendan Rodgers the other week, Kev, was talking about one of the main reasons he agreed to come back to Celtic was Callum McGregor. I mean, he's done an incredible job. Were you sold on him? I can't remember what your take on him being a captain was back then. Were you sold on the idea from day one?
No, I wasn't sold on him being the captain from day one because I had the same as you. I thought he was really quiet and too timid a personality to be the captain of such a big club. I didn't see it in him. I thought he was a great player then, or was a really good player, but I didn't see him having that leadership mentality or ability. But like you say, we don't know what goes on in the dressing room. We don't know what goes on in the training pitch. We don't know what goes on in that huddle before the game. And Callum's led a few of them beforehand. He's there, obviously, in training. The people at the club knew that he was the right man.
What were we missing, Sean?
Santa.
Oh, you're joking.
There? Yes.
Sorry, Kevin, I didn't want to interrupt you.
There he is. He's coming into the trophy. That is outstanding, crack. Oh, love it. I absolutely love that.
Any day for Santa.
That is unbelievable, Patter. Celtic have won the league and the Patter Trophy this season. That is brilliant. Look at that.
You're going to have a cheer.
Fantastic.
That is outrageous.
Brilliant.
I love it. You see, we're talking there about self-deprecating humour. That's what I'm talking about. We're basically laughing at ourselves for booing Santa. I love it.
That's brilliant.
Really is getting the acclaim. He's getting the acclaim for the fans. Absolutely brilliant.
Jungle Lion's going mad about it.
Was it not Jungle Lion's idea? I read this in the comments last week. Sorry, Kevin, I totally interjected there, mate. Back to you.
You're quite all right, because you'll get on Santa's naughty book, or naughty list rather, if you didn't mention that he was there today. So well done, Celtic, for bringing the big man back. He deserves it after the way we treated him previously. So yeah, as I was saying about Callum, I didn't think he was captain material, but at the same time, when he was awarded the captain's armband, I couldn't have picked anyone else in the squad at that time who I'd say would have been a better choice. I didn't think we really had the leadership after Brown left, and I'm so happy to eat the humble pie every single, at the end of every single season when Callum's proven me wrong every single time. He is a leader now. That game that Sean was talking about, where he's had that nice little word in Barisic's ear. I mean, that's one of my go-to moments when I think about McGregor as a captain. And he does it in every single game against them. He's got a word with someone and he backs it up every time with a performance as well. And yeah, he didn't take a traditional path to the first team. He went away from the club. He developed his game somewhere else. And I think by doing that, he's also become or should become a role model in how to become a Celtic player. You know, you don't have to, if you've not made it in the first team directly from the academy, it doesn't matter. You can go away somewhere else. You can get your experience. And as soon as you come back, just, embrace being part of the club again. When we spoke about this moment last week, I think it was Sean that mentioned it again as well. There's a big miss that he has against Borussia Mönchengladbach in a European game a couple of seasons ago, and that's the making of Callum McGregor. Because a lesser player, I think, could have shrunk and folded after that, but he's grown and gone from strength to strength since then. And if he's not my hero, he's going to be the hero of loads of younger Celtic fans just now growing up, and he's such a great role model to have at the club.
No, you're spot on, and I think when you're looking at the potential for this year's Christmas video, guys, bringing Santa in with a wee box for Brendan, and it's a Gucci belt that's in the box. Absolutely brilliant, Potter. Love it. I'm delighted, obviously, as a Celtic fan, not just one that knew the kind of hard times that Jared spoke about in the 90s, because you expect the ups and the downs, but what I'm saying here, and it's not elitism and it's not triumphalism, it's that we do stand alone. We are not part of anything. We're not half of anything. I had a conversation the other day with Kev Graham, and I absolutely am against any terminology that draws us into this alliance, this old firm alliance. It's dead. It died in 2012, never to return. Celtic stand alone. And it's all about building our own legacy. And you look at these players, they're doing it game by game. They're building their own legacy. And Brendan Rodgers, I want to have a wee chat about him because, Jared, if you talk about people having doubts about Callum McGregor, what about the doubts about Brendan Rodgers when he came back? Surreal moments. Santa giving Celtic the league title is up there with surreal moments. But if you told me 18 months ago, Brendan Rodgers would be the manager of Celtic, I would not have believed you. I would not have believed you. I've been pretty vocal about it all season. I wanted him back when I knew that there was an opportunity for him to come back. Thought he was the best gaffer for the job. And I think he's proved a lot of people wrong, Jared.
Oh, one of the ones he's proved wrong. I was pretty harsh on him when he left last time. I haven't been very nice to him in the interim. And I was looking for someone else to come in. But I thought realistically, I like the look of Kettle Knutson, for instance. Once he ruled himself out, Rodgers was the best candidate we could have got. So we roll with it and off we go. And it's taken some time. It's got to the thing where we build it down now to simmer down. And as I was saying on our podcast, I think it was on Thursday this week, you're starting to see, now that we've got players back like Atade and Kalmax fit and that sort of thing, you're starting to see the patterns come in that we've been missing. It's been really clunky this season with the transition from how we played under Ange, with the squad, with the players we brought in not really establishing themselves in the squad, and then injuries. And it's just been really clunky and disjointed. And to have it ramp up in the last 6-8 weeks to get to the point where we're at now, where we've won the league by 8 points and we're going for a double next weekend. I'm personally going to say not all is forgiven for me, because I still don't like the way he left during the middle of the season last time round, but I've moved on from that.
I think a lot of people have moved on for it. There's always going to be that wee niggle in the back of their mind. I mean, I'm going back to some of the stuff that was being spoken about around Brendan Rodgers when he left. People were putting him in the same bracket as the likes of Le Petit Merde. And I never ever understood that, because there's doing the dirty and then there's doing a Mo Johnston. And, there's no match in that in the history of Celtic as far as I'm concerned. It was a brave move, Sean, wasn't it, for Brendan to come back? It was a brave move when he came back.
It was puzzling. I was quite surprised at the time. When the names started coming around, I was like, of all the names we were linked with, I was like, okay, that is actually probably our best option that I've heard of, that I've heard bounded about. But I honestly didn't think he would take it, but he did, and here we are. So I was not overly convinced. I was about 70% convinced at the time, and I hadn't really held on to. I was annoyed at the time when he left, but I hadn't held on to a grudge too long about it. It was just kind of that's football. These things happen. We weren't playing that great when he left anyway. I was kind of taking that view on it. But yeah, sure enough, when he was the one that was appointed, I was like, right. And people ask you about it. They do, especially down here, because it was Postecoglou that left. So everyone in Australia was talking about it. And so, what do you think of Rodgers? What do you think of Rodgers? I'm like, best man for the job, probably. And it seems like that's, hard to know. It's hard to retcon that, but it seems like he was the best man for the job.
Yeah, I did feel the same. And, I think he was on a short leash, Kev. So during the season, I think the St Johnstone game where there were boos ringing around the stadium, people were calling it, it was like going from Ange ball to boar ball and all this kind of stuff. And I just felt that there was a lot of people saying, all right, you're a Celtic manager, I'm going to get behind you, but the minute things go wrong, you're getting it. And there was a feeling at one point this season that that's where it was going. And it takes a great strength of character, doesn't it? Listen, they're not immune to it. They're no robots, Kev. So when they're getting that stick in real time, not just on social media and behind keyboards and all that, but in real time, when you're in a stadium and they're booing you and they don't want you to be there, that must be tough. And I think he's come through it. And I'm more looking forward to next season now, Kev, because I just feel that we've got all that behind us, all that trouble that we had this season. And I would throw in there a dreadful run of injuries. I would throw in there the Abada situation, the club falling out with the fan ultra groups, all that kind of stuff we had to put up with and get over. And we can put it all behind us now, Kev, and really grow during the pre-season for next year.
Yeah, so to use the John Hughes phrase, I think Brendan showed a lot of testicular fortitude to come back and then stick out the season, because I was one of those ones, and it's on the Acsom blog. I said I didn't want him back within 100 miles of Celtic Park because of the way that he left us. It still hurt me. I'm a 40-year-old man, and the way that my manager left the football club hurt me. That's how much this club means to us, to the people. So, yeah, I was on Jared's boat with that when I wanted Knutson. I thought he would have been the ideal choice because his playing style was very similar to Angie's. He would have been my choice. It wasn't to be. Brendan came back in. He did show a great deal of character to do it. We talk a lot about having the support of the 60,000 fans behind you at a game and how it raises your game and you get the boost from it. If you've got 60,000 fans shouting abuse at you at the end of a game against St Johnstone, that's going to have the opposite effect. And it did to some of the players. I think some of them realised the size of the club they were at and the expectations, and they never quite recovered from it. But Brendan did. He stuck to what he wanted to do. It was boring at times, as has been said. But Angie's teams, you were always told, developed and got better towards the end of a season, and they flourished that way. Brendan's team maybe doesn't do it quite as extravagantly, but they've come together as a team over the course of the season. He's weeded out those players that aren't at the level to be at Celtic, and he's now got this core group of players. And so, yeah, you've got to have confidence now looking into next season. We have just won a league title. Let's hope we win a double next weekend. There's a unity in the team now that hasn't been there for the 6 months beforehand. Me, you, Jared, we're talking about 10 in a row again. It's been something that's back on because we can see that there is this incremental progress. If Brendan can keep that going into the summer and into next season, only good things can happen.
I don't mind talking about 10 in a row. I really don't. And maybe this time next May, we'll be talking about it, and we'll continue to do that. Some great comments coming through. Thanks, everybody, for getting involved, as always. Philip McCabe, hoping Santa removes his beard, and it's James McCarthy. James McCarthy was one of the guys that wasn't even part of that celebration there. Where is James? He's in the car share We don't know where he is. Have you spotted him? 2 Lowland League games this season, and hopefully he can move on and play football elsewhere.
He's
For the
hanging out
betterment.
with the kids guarding the motors, Paul.
Yeah, I think he is. Aye, fibre to watch your motor, mate. Ridiculizer, redemption complete. Welcome home, Brendan. Yeah, I think it's maybe taken a year for people to have that view. Some people, I think he's done brilliantly. But again, always with one eye onto the pre-season and the summer transfer window and how we can improve further. AJSC Tech, is Peter Lowell Santa? Is it £40 million transfer fund for Brendan? After all, he has been an awfully good boy this year. Enjoy Acsom and everyone everywhere, all over the globe, Celtic fans, people that tune into Acsom, many of whom probably didn't tune in on the post-match live because you were watching the celebrations or you were preparing to go up to Merchant City to get involved in the celebrations. But at some point over the weekend, maybe tomorrow, just to soothe you back into your Sunday afternoon, you might want to watch Acsom. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Peter, put the Santa stuff, but the Santa stuff draws attention to us booing our team around the world. Yes, but in a funny way. It's just self-deprecating humour, Pete. That's all it is. Now, I do want to talk about a few moments that happened in the game today. Tony Daverin brings up Palmer. He forgives him for missing the goal of the season by getting the winner at the end. What do we make of his overall performance? Jared, I'll start with you because we were talking about salvaging something from the summer transfers. Palmer gave us a wee glimmer of hope there, I think.
He showed that, like, you've got Maeda plays one way, Palmer gives you a completely different option on the left. So it means you got 2 guys there battling it out for one position. It's kind of like if he can do the form that he had today for a whole season next year, and then it's him and Maeda battling it out, it's going to give us the same sort of dynamic we had in Rodgers' first stint when you had Roberts and Forrest battling it out on the right. We could potentially have a 2-pronged attack over there, and it's horses for courses. Do you need someone to pin someone back and pressure him in Maeda? Do you need someone a bit more attacking with the delivery? So it gives you options. So it could actually work for us, and then that saves us a bit of cash by instead of having to go spend on that position. Now we go and chuck an extra 2-3 million into getting a better quality number 10 if O'Reilly leaves, or a good quality European left back, for instance, so Taylor can become the backup and strengthen it and spend a bit of extra money that way. So, yeah, his performance today showed that there's something there. And a little bit of a tangent, but I also thought once Scales came on and we pushed Naroski across to the right, centre back, he showed there was something there as well.
You know this, right? I'm watching the footage, Jared. I'm watching the footage, and I don't think it's a coincidence that the Celtic team are getting their photographs taken in front of the Green Brigade. There seems to be a real coming together today. And as I say, drawing a line in the sand of all the issues we've suffered and put up with and overcome this season. And it's really a sense of moving on. And this is part of it. Joe Hart, he took the speaker. He was the capo. He's given it the big bouncy and all that kind of stuff up at the Green Brigade, which was brilliant. And there is a real sense of coming together again. How important is that, Sean? Because it was not nice as a Celtic fan going through those games where the Green Brigade and the boys weren't able to go into the ground, you know, and now we've got the players celebrating with them. It's come full circle. That's how it feels anyway.
Yeah, and you mentioned the game earlier where we, who was it? It was up at someone was up shouting at the board in the fancy seats as well. So even the fans that have to come in a tie were getting annoyed in one of those games. I think it was a 2-0 loss to Hearts, and it was looking pretty grim at that point. Even when we came back from the winter break, we were in pretty poor form, and then we kind of got Hatate back fit. We got Carter Vickers back fit, and it kind of clicked. And you know, winning success helps to heal a lot of wounds. And yeah, I think. I don't know. I don't want to say the Green Brigade have been on better behaviour because I don't know that they've been doing anything different, to be honest. I feel it maybe just, you know, as kind of what's current in the news swings and changes, then the scrutiny that they get put under swings and changes, and I don't know, maybe there's a calm period in that sense. The rest of the world's kind of catching up with the political stance that they took perhaps too quickly way back in time. But yeah, time heals, winning heals, and it's good. There is a unity coming back that certainly didn't feel like it was there in November and February.
I mean, you're right, and you're spot on about your political comment as well, Sean, with the fact that, you know, I'm not surprised they called it early, and a lot of people are catching up with their view politically that was made by the Green Brigade. Now, Kevin McCluskey, when we're talking about unity and we talk about that, you know, the Holy Trinity, and it's something that Brendan Rodgers has spoken about in the past. He's been asked about it. Some comments are coming through here because we're not hearing, obviously, what Brendan is talking about when he's getting interviewed. But Pigeon M says that he's just said there live on Sky he will have more fun in the summer when he'll make the team stronger. And there is this sense that the time is now, Kev. There's no more messing about. There's project players in that squad that were brought in. Let's add this quality. It's the buzzword, but we can all see it. As we said before, there came a moment in the season where Brendan just closed ranks. It was just basically, right, I'm going to trust this group of players to get us over the line, and that's what they've done. But we need to add that quality now, Kev.
Yeah, and the time is now. We seem to sit here most summers, or going into most summers, saying that we're in the rudest financial position that we've ever been in. You know, we're in the strongest position there. One summer, I would just love to see us go and not break the bank, but break our transfer records, break our spending limits. That's what we need to do. We need to stop bringing in project players at £1 or £2 million, or we can bring 1 or 2 in, but not 9 like we did in the summer there. We need to really focus in on the key areas that we want to strengthen. 2 easy examples being we need a top-class goalkeeper. If Hart's away, we need a left-back, and although the third one in that we need a number 10 if O'Reilly goes. But that's 3 players. If we can look to spend between 5 and 10 million in each of those positions, we'll probably still be breaking even, because Jared's mentioned before, you know, we'll get a record fee for O'Reilly if he goes. We've got Abada's money to spend. We've got Frimpong money if he goes. So we can actually afford to spend money without spending money, if that makes sense. You know, we can still break even. And this is absolutely the time that we've the time to do it. I think when it's one of the big reasons why Brendan's come back as well. I think he's been given a promise of some sort that we will back you, we'll give you what you need. It's a massive summer and we've got to do it. And I don't know why, because history hasn't always proven us or given us what we want in this particular question. But I'm fairly confident that this summer we will. We'll change that approach, and we need to. We'll do what we did in Angie's first season. We'll have targeted signings, and it will be first team ready players, and that's what we need. Because again, Jared, spot on, mate. We need to sign first team players that are coming in and not just challenging the boys that are there, but replacing them and then giving them that challenge that will raise their game. And if we can do that, then sky's the limit for where we can go.
Well, the big thing as well, I know that in terms of the bean counters at the club, what you're talking about there, Kev, is using the new money that's coming in. We've already got all that money in the bank.
Yeah.
But the people at the club, the finance people, will be looking at this and going, "Wow, you know, we made that work. It wasn't like that, Jared. We cannot become complacent. This was not something that worked to plan. It was almost as if, you know, all hands on deck. Brendan Rodgers pulling out every single dossier and coaching manual that he's ever had or contributed to, and using them to his advantage. Pulling in Jamesy Forrest, who hadn't played, getting the best out of guys who hadn't shown the form in Kyogo. You know, O'Reilly having the season of his life. These are all the things that contributed to us getting us over the line. And I hope there's not that complacency that we've seen in the past. It is, I feel, almost like a bit of a turning point. Am I being naive? Can you see us doing things slightly differently, Jared?
We're at a launching point. We're at that spot where it's which direction are we going to launch in? Are we going to launch off into a new forward-thinking direction where, okay, let's strengthen for Europe and make that our focus? And in turn, if we bring in those starting quality players for Europe, then that strengthens our overall squad because the current starters go to the bench. And then, as I mentioned earlier on, it's a squad game. Your squad's going to be that strong because it's built for Europe that the league will take care of itself? Or do we launch off in the same direction where we are now, where it's let's just not spend for Europe, let's just cash that, get that money, put it in there, build a hotel, build what we're doing down the road, the new training facility, put the money into that and not put it in the pitch, and then release 6 or 7 different Adidas drops each year as well and milk the fans. That's the jumping off point we're at. It's which way are we going to go? Are we going to go left or are we going to go right? I'm hoping we're going to go hard for the European thing and put the money onto the pitch, which in turn will make people like me actually want to get Celtic TV, want to buy more tops, and so on. But at the moment, if the money's just going to go and sit in a bank account over there, well, it's not what we're after. We're a football club at first. So what happens on the pitch is the most important thing. And if we've got so much money sitting there, Paul, I'm going to say it. We've won the league, the men. Tomorrow, the women potentially win the league. Then we go and get a cup, win a cup next weekend. And then we launch into the summer. We've got all that money there. So we can strengthen the men's team and actually give the women a bit of extra cash too and help them do well. So, I don't know. We're a cashed up club. We've got the position where we can be forward thinking. But do we have the right people in the right positions at the club to do that and with the right mindset? That's the big question going into the summer.
Yeah, and by the way, you're right to point that out in relation to the financial backing of the women's team. They've done so well on a shoestring, really, in relative terms. And I'm not comparing it to men's football, I'm comparing it to other women's teams in Scotland. We have done that on a shoestring. It's time to back them properly. Now, double denim, and as I said, he does wear double denim, comes in to say a great way to conclude a tough, hard-fought season. Congratulations to the 3-in-a-row champions. Sincerely hope all our supporters stay safe and have a great time. Love you, Big Joe. Yeah, you're right. It was a big, long drive up to Dunoon and back with my missus. Obviously, the wee guy has to go to the in-laws and all that stuff. So I'm going to have a quiet one, Sean. How about yourself, mate?
Yeah, I'm going to go to bed soon. I'm refereeing in the morning and playing in the afternoon. So it's going to be a quiet one for me. So I don't drink on Saturdays when it's football season. Too old to both drink and play football. So just have a quiet one no matter what.
You should never drink and play football at the same time.
I can't. It's 2-day hangovers for me at this age, mate. I don't know about yourself.
I know how you're feeling. Now, Joe Hamilton, too busy watching the celebration. I get it, Joe, absolutely. Come back over the weekend and catch up on some of the chat. We're not getting too deep into it, but I think the sense around here within the four walls of Acsom this afternoon is this is a launch pad. I think it's absolutely correct what Jared says, and it's all about what direction we launch ourselves in now. We've spoken about Palma. I'm really happy that he scored the winner. I think there's been a sense of a guy that's come in, Kev, and it was all about Palma initially. He's probably used to that. He's probably been the best top star player in whatever team he's played in, and he comes to Celtic, and he's obviously got the minerals in terms of the technique and all that, the ability, but that's not enough sometimes. And I think that, when you're looking at what Brendan Rodgers can do on a man-to-man level, that type of management, Kev, he's the type of guy that I'm reluctant to write him off because I think Brendan could maybe remould him.
Yeah, and it's another one of those things that we don't know about Louis Palmer because, to be honest, none of us had heard of him probably before we signed him. Then your knowledge and your research of him goes on YouTube videos where he's going to be a superstar. And he potentially was one of those players that was a key player in the teams he played for before he was the main man. If you come into a Brendan Rodgers team at Celtic, there is no key player or single main man because he's about the collective unit. He's shown it with Griffiths previously, a 40-goal season striker, and he's replaced him because he wasn't going to fit his style. He's done it this season with Kyogo. As much as he says he hasn't changed the game or told him to do anything differently, he hadn't been as productive for a long spell in the season. Something changed. He was no longer the focal point player. So maybe Palma has come from that. He's used to being the key player and then not being that, not having that influence in games. That could affect the way that he plays. and I'm not convinced he was a Brendan Rodgers signing in the first place. But he's had a year under him. He's come back today after being out the side for a wee bit, and yeah, I thought he was really good today.
First start
If
in
we
3
can
months,
get
I
that
think it
level
was,
of
Kev.
performance, the first in 3 months, exactly.
Yeah.
So he's taken that bit of time out. Maybe Brendan's had him one-on-one in the training pitch. He's been working on him. He's been trying to develop something else in his game. And if he can put in that level of performance that he did today on a consistent basis next season, again, Jared, you're right. We will not need to go and sign another left winger because we've already got him in the building. And Brendan is a player that can get the best out of. So he's a coach that can get the best out of players. If you look at somebody like a Stuart Armstrong before, who was a pretty decent midfielder, Rodgers turned him into a Premiership midfielder, and he can do that to Palmer if Palmer has the mentality to do it and the willingness to learn.
Yeah, if he wants to embrace it, you're absolutely right. What a delivery today. That was the one thing from Palmer's performance. I just felt that he was putting balls in there that we've not seen often enough, particularly from the corner kicks. Now, I'm going to bring this up here. He's getting interviewed as we speak. Eddie Quigley talks about Joe Hart, and the tifo was excellent today. Big shout out to everybody who's involved in putting these things together, the cost, the time, everything, the know-how, because we know that not every Scottish football team Ultra has the know-how to pull them together. We've seen a few shambolic efforts, but not when it comes to these guys. Absolutely tremendous. And I want to talk a wee bit more about Joe. Guys, is Joe Hart written an autobiography? See, one of these guys at some point during his career, he's written a book. You know how some of them do it pretty young and rather than once the career's ended. I can't remember seeing one. But I tell you something, I would love to read Joe Hart's autobiography because there's going to be a final chapter in there, Jared, that I don't think anybody expected. And I think that the way he's embraced this club and the fan base, he'll do nothing but talk Celtic up. That's the vibe I'm getting from him, Jared.
I'm thinking that's your next book to put together, Paul.
That'd be
There's a
nice.
space on your bookcase for you to go and sit with him and, write it all up with him and everything. I think there's a place in the market for it, and I'll be buying it.
I would love that. I think it's one of the things when it comes to players looking up at Scotland, and often, that level of player, someone who's played in World Cups for England or Champions League for Man City, they might see us as, just a wee hurrah at the end. It's almost like a bucket list thing, Sean. And look down their nose at the Scottish game. I think if Joe's talking to any of the guys he's played with, the message will be completely different from him.
Yeah, I just had a quick check while you guys were chatting there, and he doesn't appear to have released any autobiographies, but I'm hearing he's going to be doing the commentary at the Euros, so that's interesting. Yeah, it's quite the finish for him. I'm wondering, and I do wonder, and I guess it's taken off topic a little bit, but I do wonder if Celtic are going to go that same route and look for a kind of backup goalkeeper from the EPL, hoping that they'll kind of get lucky again. And I guess if you look over to City, they got a little bit lucky. Maybe it's not luck, but they also got a backup goalkeeper from the EPL who's done a good turn this year. So I wonder, some of the rumours is Alex McCarthy, and who's at Southampton, I think, and who was understudy or was competing with Fraser Forster a while ago. So I do wonder if that's the route we're going to go this summer. And yeah, look, Joe Hart, you're right. He's a character. He's must have so many stories to tell, and if he does have a book, I'm sure it'll be a big seller. Yeah, I do wonder about that.
Yeah, I've just seen there Tosh McKinley on the park. Obviously, he's part of the scouting team. There's going to be big changes going into the summer with scouting and recruitment and everything else, Kev. New head of department and all that. But a big shout out to our very own JP Mason. JP Mason, a few people even last night just approached me to say, "Oh, I love watching the guy on a Thursday. The knowledge of the music and the football. It's a great combination." And he's an absolute gentleman. And he's so enthusiastic about Celtic. It's incredible. You buzz off his enthusiasm. So leading into this game, the media team contacted Acsom and I'm guessing all the other platforms who are on their mailing list to say, "Listen, come to the game, pick up a media pass and enjoy the celebrations afterwards, talking to the players and all that stuff." So JP Mason is Acsom's representative today, and I know for a fact he will be buzzing because he's just such a massive Celtic fan, such an enthusiast. So hopefully he had a tremendous day And he has a tremendous night because obviously the celebrations will continue. And talking to Acsom contributors, here's one you maybe not seen in a while. Laura Bradburn, never get sold, says Laura. Hail, hail, and happy trophy day, everyone. I remember celebrating the quadruple treble, the penalty shootout win against Hearts. Remember the one that got Conor Hazard a new deal? Laura and I covered that game. So, yeah, great to hear from you. Hope you're well. Pigeon M. No, I've already read that one out. Tony Cassidy, the redemption arc is complete. Welcome back, Santa. Yeah, absolutely love that. And Tony, thanks for coming along. There's a guy there, Tony, coming along to our gig last night in Dunoon to support Acsom and to see Peter and Joe. Fantastic night. And, you know, yeah, if you're going to hand out awards, I think Tam Selleck on Twitter should get one as well. Quarterback punk. He's absolutely tremendous when you think about it. Some iconic messages of images, rather, of Joe Hart getting the acclaim from the Green Brigade at the end of the game as well. How far can we take it? One last word on Celtic then. We're going for the double. I'm going to start with you, Kevin McCluskey. How do you see it going, mate? We do have the hex on Rangers this season. Brendan Rodgers has got a tremendous record. I'm hearing now that this phenomenal record that Philippe Clement's had since he came in isn't really that great when you compare it to somebody like Brendan Rodgers. But we're going to a one-off cup game. It's completely different. I was asking Peter Grant, I was asking Joe Miller, guys who have played in these games, and he was like, look, it's a one-off, anything can happen. So going into that, what's your thoughts, what's your feelings? And do you think we revert back to the team that started against Rangers or the team that started against Kilmarnock? Kev, what do you reckon?
Right. In terms of the starting lineup, it's probably more the one that we've played against Rangers previously. It's worked 3 times out of 4. And if it wasn't for a slack pass by Callum McGregor or Yang forgetting how to defend, it could have worked 4 times out of 4. We were really close to doing that. Throughout this whole campaign, no matter how well or poorly we've been playing, going into a Rangers game, we've come away with the result at the end of it. Brendan's got something about him going into these kind of games where he'll bring the players together for it. He gets them pumped and motivated for it without doing anything grand. You know, Beale was all bluster beforehand. Clement's come in and he's given lots of emotional comments in his press conferences to try and get his players up for the games. Rodgers has been pretty calm and collected before every single one of them. He's got his game plan right for them up till now. So I think going into that game, as I said before the last 2 Glasgow derbies, we've got nothing to fear going into it. I think we should be pretty confident that we can get a result. And it's not blasé to say it because we've won 3 out of the previous 4 matches this season. I'm hoping to be sitting here in a week's time watching us lift another trophy.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at the records that are being broken left, right and centre in this country, I think it goes back to that level of domination that not only have we had for the last 24 years, I think that if we catapult ourselves in the right direction from the launch pad that we find ourselves on, we can do it for another generation. Because what is a generation? 20 to 30 years, something like that. So we've dominated for a generation. We can do it again. Absolutely no problem. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on Instagram. That's our newest platform. We're just building that up. So to the likes of Jerry, A Northern Soul, Resistance is the Only, The Boy 05, etc. Thank you all for getting involved in the Instagram. I'm not quite there yet with how to use that, but I'll figure it out. P Mac Attack, sitting in Sicily, listening to the show. Come on, a Celtic. Love to hear where you're watching this now. I remember there was a famous Bill Shankly quote: first in Liverpool is champion, second is nothing. Martin Nicol, you're absolutely right. It's similar in Glasgow. Until one of these clubs can maybe, build their own challenge. And I think they could start off by looking at their own recruitment. Some amount of dross has been brought into these clubs and they just continually sack their managers. Eddie Quigley, thank you for thanking us. It's always an absolute pleasure on a Celtic State of Mind. And we have got massive plans throughout the summer, just to answer the question of Darryl as well. We'll be doing our usual stuff in the summer, but there's loads of developments with Acsom. We'll be covering the Euro games that have a Celtic inkling or interest. And there's new shows coming as well, Daryl. So loads of content on the channel. If you haven't done so already and you're watching it, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We're hurtling towards, I think, towards the 30,000 subscriber mark on there as well. Lucy said this on Wednesday and again today. Congratulations, Brendan. Sorry for doubting you. I'm sure there's loads of people saying the same, Lucy. Fair play. Jared, what about yourself? Scottish Cup final, wrapping up a double. It will be the 7th double alongside 6 trebles since 2000. Incredible domination. Can you see us doing it?
Oh, how much fun's it going to be?
Absolutely.
Looking forward to it. Brendan Rodgers managing a game at Hampden. Was go out there and play our game, focus on what we do. And yeah, I believe the players we've got and the way we've been playing, it'll take care of itself. And it's going to be great fun to be in at the Melbourne #1 CSC, jumping around, having a sing-song, smashing 4 million beers, and absolutely just becoming a general menace that night. And it's going to be totally worth it. That's
the name of your autobiography, Becoming a General Menace. I cannot wait to read that, mate. And Sean, what about yourself? Again, another cup final to look forward to. How do you see it going? I totally get it. We're going to be favourites, I think, going into it. The way we've played, we've got momentum. We're the champs. You're in 7th heaven. We've rested a couple of the guys today. I agree with Kev. I don't think you start a game against Rangers without Kyogo in the starting 11. And if we play anywhere near how we've been playing, I think we will win the game. But every game this season's been close, Sean. There's a couple that could have, they could have flipped. And I think we've shown the mental ability as well as the technical ability to win it. How do you see it going, mate?
Yeah, I think it'll be a close one again. I think the same won't see anything different. Won't see anything unexpected really from the two teams. It's going to be Maeda terrorising them. It's going to be Fabio Silva versus Alistair Johnston again. I think it will end up 2-1, which has been a relatively common result in these games recently. I would just mention that the form of our opponents since the start of March, they've won 6 out of their 14 games. So that's a 43% win percentage. So even if you're not taking us into account as the opponents, they're less than half a chance of winning a game at the moment on their current form.
That's interesting. And even today, I don't know that it was a bit of a dead rubber and all the rest of it. Conceded a couple of goals. So did we. Solomon Koulibaly was the player. Where does he play his football now, Kevin McCluskey? Any idea? Koulibaly scored for 40 yards. Algerian First Division. So obviously that move went well for him when he went to Al Ahly for a few quid. Now the Scottish Premiership table finishes Celtic top, and we did that with a wee bit more style than we might have expected a few weeks ago. We've got Rangers, Hearts, Kilmarnock, St Mirren and Dundee. That's your top 6. And we're in that incredible situation with regards to us having a 6th place team with less points than the 7th place team. Where else in the world does that happen? I'm not so sure. But we move on. We move on to next season, and it's all about Celtic. It's all about us doing the business in a transfer market as well. As I see Maeda playing football with his kids. It's interesting though, because remember back in the day, Jordan Larson and all the guys were on the park and they went on to become a footballer, and you see these kids, you just never know what's going to happen with them. Neil Lennon's own boy as well, now a pro footballer as well. So it's great. I hope everybody enjoys their night. Thanks again to everybody who joined us last night, everybody who's tuned in throughout the season. We're going nowhere. Thank you to Pirlo the Cat. We're going nowhere through the summer. We're going to continue with the match day stuff and also your weekday bulletins, because there's always something to talk about when it comes to Celtic. All that's left for me to say, guys like Sean, dialing in from Australia, Kevin dialing in from Hungary, Jared dialing in from Australia as well. Absolute tremendous commitment. Thank you all. And if you want to come to our next gig, it's in Glasgow. It's Alan Thompson, Stan Petrov and Jackie Mack. It's a triple header. It's next month at Barra's Art and Design. And the ticket link is underneath the video. Enjoy your night, and I'll see you next week for a Celtic State of Mind.